Hello everyone, it's Jin'taan here, and today I'm going to be going over the latest update to EVE Online, which went live on the 27th of February 2020. Now, originally I had expected this update to be bringing with it the changes to moon mining that CCP announced shortly after their last patch, but it looks as though this has been put on hold until the first release of March, rather than the next release as stated in that post. Still, that doesn't mean that this patch hasn't come with some significant changes that you need to be aware of, with the reintroduction of the Christmas filaments, but this time permanent, and the removal of high-angle weapons from Titans. I should also note that yet more changes to the underlying economic mechanics of the game were announced in a dev blog just a few days ago, with broker relations, margin trading, and several other market skills being changed in function to accompany a major decrease in the granularity of the order system. After March the 10th, all orders will have a limit of 4 significant figures, so an order of 1001 ISK or 69,690,000 ISK would be acceptable, but 1001.01 ISK or 4204.20 ISK wouldn't be. In addition to this, changing the price of your orders will now always cost ISK, as a result of the introduction of a relisting charge. Right now I don't plan to make a video on this because it's just well out of my realm of expertise, as someone whose interactions with the market primarily consists of right-click sell all or buy all in the fitting window, but maybe I'll wrangle a few marketeers onto the channel and get them to give their opinions. Alright, so with all that said, let's get on to the patch itself. And the first heading under features and changes is balancing, and this contains only one real change, which is the fact that high-angle weapons can now only be fit to dreadnoughts. There's also some minor wrangling of stats, with the base damage of Whores being doubled, and the removal of the 100% Whore damage bonus that had previously been applied to the Siege module, and this is basically just reverting to how Whores operated before the 50% damage nerf that was implemented in the April patch of last year. This does mean that your unsieged dreadnought is going to do roughly double the damage that it did before this patch. However, it's still going to be comfortably under the DPS of an average battleship, and I don't expect it to have any real impacts on the game. This is just them cleaning up the stats a little bit. The main point of this change is to remove the ability for Titans to fit Whores, which is something that gets 2 thumbs up from me. It's something I advocated for in my Obsolescence of Subcapitals video, where I went over why I felt like Supercaps was so dominant in the game, which is something that I've been harping on for years now. And my real hope here is that this change will mean that you have to bring subcapitals to properly support your supercapitals if you want them to be effective, as without Whores, Titans now have a relatively difficult time clearing things like heavy interdictors, and to a lesser extent regular interdictors, although smart bombs can still put a world of hurt in on those. It's still probably not going to be enough to really change how the supercapital umbrella works, especially with supercarriers still having access to webs and points with their support fighters, and with faxes still only being vulnerable to Triglavian ships unless you have over 100 people in subcapitals, but it is a step in the right direction, and I've got to give CCP kudos for that. Next up, under the modules heading, we have all of the new Needlejack filaments that have been added to the game, and these come in 5, 15 and 25 variants, and with the signal or noise variant, with the number referring to how many people your fleet can be whilst you're still able to activate the filament, and signal sending you to an active system, and noise just sending you to a random system. Now, for those of you who might not remember or simply weren't playing last Christmas when these were introduced for the first time, what they allow you to do is to teleport both yourself and any other fleet members on grid to a random system in nullsec, allowing you to bypass gate camps without having to go through all of the effort of scanning down a wormhole chain that ends up in nullsec, and pretty much getting instantly stuck into the action. Personally, I'm super excited to see these things make a comeback, if only from the selfish reasons of not really having had the time to play around with them properly when they were last introduced, as it was over the Christmas period. My only real use of them was basically as a quick play button when I wanted to go out and solo PvP in a battleship. I'd grab a couple of filaments, get in a Dominix or a Maelstrom or something to that effect, undock in Jitter and immediately hit the filament, yeet myself into a random nullsec system, and I wouldn't have to spend like 2.5 hours warping really slowly between systems, and it was pretty good. And I feel like that's pretty much what these things are. They're almost like a queue system, but in a very EVE Online way of having a queue system, because it is random, you're not going to be paired up fairly, but you also do get the option of trying to jump in and surprise people, because Intel networks aren't really set up to respond well to filaments in the first place, as they're normally built around geographic choke points, which these filaments let you completely bypass. Anyway, the 5-man filaments will be found in data exploration sites. The 15-man filaments can be purchased from the Ore Corporation LP store, and the 25-man filaments will be distributed in upcoming events, most likely the Garista event that's going to happen over, you guessed it, Easter. Moving on to defect fixes, under the gameplay heading we have something that's going to make all of you logistics pilots cry out with happiness, or at the very least a sigh of relief, as CCP has fixed an issue where drones abandoned by another player could not be scooped to the drone bay. Then finally, under the user interface heading, we have our usual set of quirks being ironed out of the system. Fixed an issue causing some windows to unexpectedly unstack. I'm looking at you, chat windows. Fixed an issue where redeeming Plex occasionally doesn't trigger the inventory badging system. Fixed issues where inventory badging system was triggered when moving Plex to and from the Plex vault. Fixed an issue where the tooltip for the Destroyer plus Omega combo bundle were not displaying when using Russian as a client language. And fixed an issue where localized titles were too long on the contextual offer for Destroyer pack offers. And that finishes off this week's rather short patch notes. As always, I hope you've enjoyed, and a special thanks goes out to our Crassuses, Pinche Infidel from Old School, Brood from Triumvirate, Zolka Lando and Jessica, as well as to our other $5 and above patrons in January Valentine, Ketzark Odin, Big Bada Boom, Zar, Dunk Dinkle, Miss Moses, Rafael Dordiens, Kem, the Ashfell Federation, Close Ikanti, Crazy Daisy, and Ulrich Bluthers. If you want to join them in supporting the channel yourself, you can either check out the Patreon link in the description below, or if you'd like, just share the video with some other people who you think might enjoy it. Until next time, have a good day and fly smart.